Switch Pro rumors are finally dead. Thank God. All that, and pretty much only that, on the Tech Summit Podcast, episode 56.
I'm Francisco.
I'm Chris.
And if you're watching on YouTube, then do make sure to check out the social media that is going to be right down here.
And of course, if you are listening in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, all that information will be in the respective description, including the Patreon.
Which, by the way, I would love to give a very special thanks to all of our patrons, beginning with the tier 3s, which are going to be Joe Moss, Omar, and Sada Wazal. Thank you so much for all of your support. It really does go a long way. But we would also like to give the tier 2s a mention here as well. So thank you to Armani, Maury, C, Luke, and again with
Rick's Rocks.
Rick's Rocks. Yeah, and that's everyone. Thank you so much for all of your support, because it really also goes a long way. Just know that all of you guys have been already automatically entered for the giveaway of the Raycon H20. And yes, you guys might be familiar with my track record and how I usually talk about the products, but I do think that this pair of headphones is actually pretty good. So I think that the winner will enjoy this. So this is going to be for the giveaway of July. So do look forward to that. And if you are interested in winning these headphones as well, links to the Patreon are going to be down below, and you will be automatically entered. And you also get other bonuses, like bonus episodes of the podcast as well, where we say bad words. And you, depending on which tier you go for as well, you will also be getting early access to content, and everybody usually gets a mention of some sort, whether it's written on screen or a verbal one.
Of course. That's right. So everyone, please check out the Patreon. For those who are already subscribed, thank you very much. And yeah, I don't know. It's a very hot day today. It's a little steamy, but what is ice cold is everyone's hopes and dreams for a Switch Pro, because
Indeed.
Nintendo has announced a new Switch.
Yes.
Not what they wanted.
Yes, and it's right here. At least it looks like it. But so this is just a custom regular Nintendo Switch.
It already fulfills like half of the requirements to be the new Switch.
Oh, don't say that. It doesn't have the Surface-like kickstand that we all wanted for it.
Yes. So for those who are living under a rock and just forgot that Nintendo has news and all that stuff, Nintendo did announce a new Switch OLED model for $350. That is black and white. Very nice color scheme, sure.
They also have a blue and red Joy-Con.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yes, it's two options.
So yeah, you have white is the one that everyone's really going to be looking at. It's what they're peddling the most, because it's a color scheme that wasn't already available.
And the white dock looks really nice too.
It does look nice. As you mentioned, it does include a wider kickstand, better speakers, and a wider OLED screen. I believe 7 inches.
7 inches, yeah.
7-inch OLED screen. Comes out October 8th. $350. But of course, everyone sees that model and they're thinking, "Oh my God, the Switch Pro is actually here." But Nintendo had to clarify moments after the trailer dropped that there are actually no updates or upgrades whatsoever for CPU, RAM, GPU.
Only storage.
Yeah, just a bit of a storage upgrade. So what, 64?
Yeah. So
64 internal storage?
It's double the amount of storage.
Yay.
If you say it that way, it sounds better.
you're still going to need a micro SD card, especially if you're playing any 2K games on there.
Yes. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. And that's really the biggest issue here, because, okay, there's a lot of evidence or a lot of things that have occurred to support the idea that we were going to get some kind of spec upgrade. Besides all of the rumors, here's something that actually did happen, and this was that NVIDIA, supposedly at least, discontinued the original chipset for the Nintendo Switch, which was the Tegra X1. So we were expecting stronger CPUs, and we thought to ourselves, okay, well, if we're hearing news that NVIDIA is doing this, then that means that a Switch Pro should be imminent, because then this kind of means that they can't really make any new regular Switches. So that only helped stir the pot. People got a lot more excited about that. And then we started hearing rumors about an OLED screen, which we have not seen on the handheld since 2012.
Yeah.
And it's just been a roller coaster here.
The problem is when it comes to Nintendo, it is very easy to make rumors and leaks. You can just have some random person go onto 4chan and say, hey guys, my uncle's father's son's puppy works at Nintendo, and they said that the new Switch Pro is going to have 8K resolution. It's very easy. It happens all the time. That, you know, every single time there's a Nintendo Direct coming out, there's always going to be like little rumors and leaks of what's going to show up there. You know, oh, we're getting major Animal Crossing news. We're going to get a new Metroid game. That one aged poorly, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, there's going to be a new Star Fox for Switch. You know, like they always come out with all these big rumors and stuff like that. Smash Bros. In particular always runs into this problem, and yeah, people bought into the hype, hook, line, and sinker. It's like. You buy into these rumors and leaks, and they start to sound credible. If only because people are so starved for like a better upgrade for the Switch, because the Switch is showing its age already.
You definitely tell, like, when it comes to, you know, certain big games that have been coming to the Switch, and the graphical improvements. Well, there aren't even improvements. Like, it's just you're definitely just getting a straight up downgrade at this point.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I mean, I'm willing to live with for the sake of being able to travel with it, but when I dock it, I would like to be able to get better performance. I don't know, maybe some kind of guaranteed 1080p 60 would actually be pretty nice.
It would depend for me. Like, I'm okay with visual downgrades so long as the game continues to run at a steady frame rate. I believe the Outer Worlds ran into that problem where it was massively downgraded on a visual level and still chugged at sub 20 FPS's handheld most of the time.
I mean, even Doom. Actually, like 2016 Doom, a game that you would think the Switch would not be able to handle. It got some very significant downgrades in the visuals, that's for sure, but it didn't look that bad in handle. It was when you docked it that it didn't look so cute, but...
I'm going over to the realm of fighting games that you're less familiar with, but I think the best port that the Switch has had to this date is Mortal Kombat 11.
Mortal Kombat 11.
Yes, because now, again, it was severe downgrades in the visual department. Like, it looks like early PS3 or something like that.
Do I have that game?
Do you have that game?
I don't remember if I bought... Oh, yeah, I did. I have Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you'll look at it and, you know, you're going to look at the visuals and you're going to think, oh, wow, that looks like crap. But, like, especially compared to, like, your PC and, you know, PS4, you know, versions. But, like, the game runs at a pretty steady 60. Like, they managed to make it run at 60 even handheld.
And for fighting game, that's very
it's very important.
Yeah.
The only problem with Mortal Kombat on the Switch is that there's always online modes. So if you're like me and you like to play the Switch on the go, you're up the creek.
Yeah. You know what would have been a pretty cool upgrade actually for the Switch?
What?
A SIM card.
No. No.
Imagine a Switch with 5G, but still no Bluetooth.
No. You're referencing 2012. Try to remember the drama and controversy that came out about that particular little device and its 3G capabilities.
Which one was it?
The Vita.
Really? The Vita had a SIM card tray?
The Vita, there was two models for the Vita. You had the original model, which was just Wi-Fi, and you did have one that included a SIM card for 3G capability.
That's hilarious.
But only AT&T.
Only worked with AT&T?
Yes.
So I couldn't just buy an unlocked Vita?
No, there was no unlocked Vita. There was no way to put in a Verizon SIM card. It was just AT&T. And I remember when they were talking about the Vita and they announced this model, and then they announced that AT&T was the exclusive carrier for 3G Vitas, the crowd actually kind of booed a little bit. Like the Sony E3 crowd, they were all for it. They were all like on board. They were all like, "Yeah, all right, cool, Sony, we love you." And then when that came out, they were just kind of like, "Oh,
oh no!"
Like that deflated the hype a bit because AT&T. Disclosure: I have AT&T and it's worked pretty well for me, but AT&T is also A, expensive, and B, it doesn't work everywhere.
So do you have the cellular Vita?
No. I mean, like, I just have AT&T as my phone carrier.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean. Yeah. No, I have never got. I have no use for a 3G Vita. You run out of data quick if you're trying to play online games with that.
Yeah, that's one thing, especially if it's like Oh, you know, a very proprietary SIM card that goes into the Vita. Like you have to get this one, and you have to pay for that SIM card.
I wouldn't be. I would not be surprised if the SIM card inside the 3G Vita was like soldered in, and you had to, like, yeah, I think soldered.
I
in.
made that mistake once at Best Buy.
I don't know. I don't know why I said soldered there. Soldered in. I wouldn't be surprised if it's soldered in. And you had to like open up the guts and get like actual specialty equipment to try and get it out. It would not surprise me.
Yeah. It would not be surprising whatsoever. Like if it had a very proprietary connector, even like just to try and get around. And like, oh, people can just desolder it or like get rid of the connection points
Or replace it with their own SIM card.
Yeah, right.
Which
and they just
I'm sure they definitely didn't want them to do because AT&T more than likely paid for that exclusivity.
Yeah, you're not meant to have unlimited data, they'll probably say. Unlimited data is actually bad for your gaming experience.
Was unlimited data even really a thing back in 2012? I don't think unlimited data plans really existed at the time.
Yeah, maybe not. I think that there were just like higher data plans, but either way,
Shared.
or shared. Like for a lot of people, it would still, like, even if you have unlimited data, it technically still maxes out at a certain amount before it starts to slow down for you.
Oh, it throttles really bad. AT&T, they throttled me down to 128 kilobytes if you pass the limit.
That's sad. That's so sad. I mean, I don't know how bad T-Mobile would actually throttle me, but I mean, I have never used all 50 gigs.
I'm on a shared plan, so
Oh, okay.
the data does get it does get used up. So
Naturally.
yeah. But no, a SIM card for a Switch, I don't think that's really something worth talking about until unlimited data becomes a more commonplace thing. Like I feel like
It's a pretty commonplace thing, I would say.
How is a better thing? I'm talking like, let's say South Korea, how like it's super fast internet everywhere you go, and it's more or less like a human rights sort of thing over there, where it's just like, yeah, don't worry about it. Whereas over here in the U.S., you're going to be paying for unlimited data, but it's going to be costing you. That's one, and like you said, there's an inherent limit before they throttle you.
Yeah.
So like a SIM card for a Switch, like that takes online gaming takes up a lot of data.
Yeah.
So if you have that data cap, you're gonna run into it very quickly playing Mario Kart on the bus. It's
Or Mortal Kombat 11, like it's just gonna all of a sudden you're offline.
It's like I'm trying to play a single player mode, and oops, I reached my data limit because Mortal Kombat's crypt towers require online connections.
Jesus. I think what we really need is a Nintendo Switch 5G.
No.
Very fast data speeds. So that way, it'll get used up faster. Big brain.
You're gonna
run into ideas.
You're gonna run into a moment where you like run into a kind of dead zone, and then someone online is gonna like go onto like social media and start complaining about these gosh darn Wi-Fi players, not using LAN. It was super laggy, and my game of Blaze Blue Cross Tag. It's
yeah. Which, by the way, there is indeed a LAN port coming to the Nintendo Switch port. That
is right. I forgot about that.
Wait, I said port. I meant to say dock.
Into the dock.
Yes, into the dock.
Not for the handheld version. So if you're trying to like play it on the couch, all lounging around, you don't get LAN.
No, not at all. Unless there's somehow an adapter that would still work for it, like USB-C to LAN, and like you would just like plug it in at the bottom. But
so this makes me wonder. Because the LAN port is on the dock exclusively, do you think it'll be at all possible that they sell the dock separately? Because because the thing, all of these big upgrades that they've been talking about on this new Switch OLED model is almost exclusively for when you're playing handheld, except for the LAN port. The LAN port's like one of the only things that's like dock exclusive, where it's like, okay, there's an actual like benefit to getting this thing if you're playing docked.
Yeah.
But surely you can get that dock separately. Because I imagine a lot of people would benefit from being able to just have a LAN port on their regular Switch.
Yeah, I would say so. I myself don't really benefit from it, but other people would, like you said. And the LAN port, I don't think that's the only reason why Nintendo would end up selling the dock, because they already sell like the regular dock separately. For I think it was $90 or something like that.
What?
Yeah, that piece of plastic.
No, really?
Yeah, At least that's how much it was at MSRP when the Switch came out.
Oh my god. It's still going to be MSRP, then they're not going to lower that price. Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's Nintendo.
I thought the Joy-Cons were expensive.
No. Joy-Cons are actually fairly affordable in comparison to the dock. It doesn't make any sense that the dock is that expensive because, as I'm sure you already know, like it's just one piece of PCB that has the 2 USB ports, and then like an HDMI port, and well, a USB-C port, HDMI port, and USB, and then outside of the dock, you have like an additional 2 USB ports, but like it's just one tiny piece of PCB that's doing that. It's like this big. And, you know, like the dock doesn't have to be as big as it is. Like that's why people have actually been taking it apart and putting it inside of smaller shelves so that it's easier to travel with because they don't really need that much space. And I highly doubt that this new dock, because I mean, it looks bigger, it looks larger.
Just slightly wider to accommodate for the screen.
Yeah, that's another thing.
So yeah, never mind. It wouldn't really work for the current Switch. Then you would probably, the Joy-Cons would probably bump into it.
It might still fit because, like the Switch here is still pretty flush, even with the Joy-Cons on them.
Well, actually,
so
like the OLED screen is bigger. Mm-hmm. But is the actual model, it's a form factor bigger? Maybe not actually, because I remember in the trailer it just takes that screen and simply just stretches it further.
Yeah.
So it's probably not bigger.
Some people have said that it's just a little bit wider, like a little bit longer, ever so slightly. But I don't know about that. It just looked like a regular Switch with a bigger screen, as you said. That I mean, it pretty much covers these entire parameters, and yes, it looks beautiful. Though I will say this, I'm honestly really excited for the speakers, the enhanced speakers.
Don't tell me you're gonna buy this, are you?
I plan on buying it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully, Nintendo will take my trade-in. So I'm actually like on the side of, I think this is still a pretty cool upgrade.
I think this is a worthwhile purchase for someone who hasn't already gotten a Switch. But if you already do, I feel like there is no reason to spend an extra $350. I am not interested.
I'm interested in getting it for review because it would be a pretty cool thing to review. But if I'm gonna get it, I may as well keep it. Though otherwise, if it weren't for that, I wouldn't be buying it because it's not that big of an upgrade from this. I don't use the kickstand all that often anyway, so I don't really need the kickstand all so much. The speakers, I mean, that is something that I do use. And the screen itself, sure, it would be a nice upgrade, but it wouldn't really justify that.
Yeah, no. The real problem here is that there is no performance upgrades of any kind.
Yeah.
The thing that the Switch needed the most, and Nintendo decided against doing anything like that, which is a very Nintendo move when you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely Nintendo, which is why it's like I can't be that surprised whatsoever that this is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Actual performance upgrade, that's a Sony move. PS4 Pro. This is not a PS4 Pro. This is more like a GBA SP that has a slightly better screen. Remember that time that the GBA SP had an incremental upgrade?
Yeah,
that's what this is.
It was also more portable because you could fold it.
No. I mean like the GBA SP itself.
Uh-huh.
Like there was a point where like the screen was different. I think it went from being a backlit. It was a backlit screen, but I think they put out a slightly incremental upgrade where that backlit screen was even brighter.
Yeah,
but it's still a GB SP. I'm not talking about the GBA.
Yeah,
SP to SP again.
Oh,
that's the kind of upgrade this is.
Okay.
Like it's the exact same form factor, it's the exact same capabilities, it's the exact same features, but a slightly better screen.
I see what you mean. Yeah. It is very much akin to that. I was actually going to make the comparison to maybe like PS4 to PS4 Slim.
Doesn't even the PS4 Slim have slight performance upgrades or no?
I think it's just better when it comes to thermals. Like I think that
That's
it's just
something.
not really as loud.
It's something.
It is something.
The Switch OLED doesn't really have anything. There's some talks that maybe the battery life has been slightly improved, but it's an OLED screen, so that defeats the purpose.
I mean, the OLED is actually better to run than a regular LCD display. So, like, in theory, the battery life should be improved. But we already got, like, supposedly double the battery life improvements with that Switch revision that we got, say, what, maybe 1 or 2 years ago? And people were saying very good things about it, that the battery life did feel, like it was almost double. Because they ended up using a more revised, or a better version, I should say, of the Tegra X1 for that. And I believe that it also made it harder to, like, crack it. So, like, if you want to perhaps jailbreak, for lack of better terms, or homebrew, actually. Yeah, there you go. If you want to homebrew a Switch, you might want to do that to the original Switch, which is this one. But supposedly, like, that was one of the things that also came with that chip. But anyway, back to the battery life improvements. OLED should, in theory, help with that, but people don't seem very confident that it would.
I'm not. If I recall correctly, doesn't OLED also still have a slight issue with screen burn-in too? So that could also be an issue going forward.
That is still an issue with OLED displays. Yeah. It could very well happen.
I was thinking that maybe it got fixed in the last decade since the Vita, but no, I guess not.
No, it was an issue even up until recently. With the Galaxy phones, with the Pixel as well. Like when that got OLED, burn-in was a very serious issue with that one. In fact, it was extremely common, and that was just 3-4 years ago.
So if you're playing a game on there that has a constant UI constantly on the screen, usually unchanging, you're going to run into a problem. If you're playing, say, let's use an example, Civilization 6.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people play Civilization 6 on a Switch as opposed to playing it on PC, like the original actual platform.
Mm-hmm.
But Civ 6 tends to have a very, what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? Structured? No. It has a very concrete UI that is, like, there at every single turn. Like, it does not change.
Yeah.
You'll always have your little map. You'll always have your little bar that says whose turn it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you're playing Civilization 6 for any extended period of time, and if you're playing a game of Civilization, it's going to be an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have screen burn-in. Possible screen burn-in.
Yeah, possible screen burn-in. It is a possibility that it can happen. Now, OLED technology has improved, but burn-in is still a possibility. Like, it hasn't been completely eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like, it could still very well happen. Maybe you're, like, in the long boss fight in Final Fantasy X or X-2, depending on your persuasion. And, you just have those menus there all of the time, and then you finish the fight, and you get the burn-in. Or you notice the burn-in, I should say.
I was going to use Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem as an example, but...
And that's a great example,
That's another great example.
Yeah.
But I don't know. When I thought about games that just have UIs that never really change throughout the entire runtime, I was thinking just Civilization, especially because Civilization games can last 5, 6, 7+ hours in a single game. So it's like that UI stays there. So it's like if you have any issues with screen burn-in, you're going to be in for a really rough time.
Yes, if it ends up happening. Now, granted, obviously the Switch OLED isn't really here yet, so we don't know if that's going to be an issue quite yet. But we kind of suspect that it will end up being kind of an issue, at least for some people.
Maybe you should run a burn-in test when you get yours to review. You
would like that, wouldn't you?
You do the burn-in test that no one else will do, because everyone else is just gonna be like, "Oh, the screen is pretty, it's great, I like it, awesome, recommend it, totally buy it," and you're gonna be the one that's like actually just like, "All right, let's see if the screen actually has any problems."
And the video titled "How long until the Switch OLED catches burn-in?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then like I just I leave a timer. I leave it running. I'm just like talking over it, and it's like, oh, There you go. It's been 1 hour, and it's all burnt in. That's it. I gotta get it replaced. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's a bad idea if I do it like fairly early on. I think Nintendo would have to acknowledge that, and I do see this being like an early adapters issue.
You act like they're gonna like put out a patch that reduces burn-in or something like that.
No.
There's gonna be a system update that fixes the screen.
But they might have to put like a better OLED screen if that ends up being an issue.
You have too much faith in them, because another thing that is also a part of this Switch OLED model, or rather, not a part, no drift fixes. The Joy-Cons remain the exact same. There is no fixes or improvements to the Joy-Cons functionality. There is no Joy-Con drift.
Yeah.
There is no Ultra HD rumble. None of that.
It's really annoying that that's the case,
because for a lot of people, they saw that the Joy-Cons weren't being fixed. And they were, even without the idea of, that's the thing. You have no performance upgrades, but if they fixed the Joy-Cons, I guarantee you a lot of people would still be buying into it. Straight up. I wouldn't still.
Yeah.
But others would.
Yeah.
But the fact that there is nothing whatsoever, including no Joy-Con, is extremely frustrating for a lot of Nintendo fans.
Including me. Because right now, even like it's super annoying in even turn-based games at this point, which I do play a lot of. I was playing a little bit of Nocturne last night, and I just saw my menu going. It's really, really, really frustrating.
Playing Fire Emblem, my stick likes to drift me all the way up to the top of the map. And I'm sure I've mentioned one time when I was trying to like put one of my units to do something after moving them, and the stick drifted very slightly and made me end their turn instead.
Oh no!
So I had to use a Divine Pulse to like reverse that.
That's such a waste of a Divine Pulse.
It is. I don't use them super often, but
well, throughout like the final boss, I had to use almost all of them,
right.
Pretty much, or all of them, I should say. Especially if you have like a lot of Pegasus Knights, because they will get shot down by arrows very easily. So yeah, like even in turn-based games, like in action games, it would be even worse. But even in turn-based games, like it is a pretty big deal. That
in fighting games, it's straight up disastrous.
Indeed. Even though I would think that people would probably still use the like the D-pad and stuff, but it doesn't even matter because it'll still drift.
Okay, so fighting game tradition. I like to use D-pad because I feel like I can do better inputs on a D-pad. But a lot of fighting game players, especially professionals, they do prefer using sticks. So they will use the analog sticks, or if they're really serious about it, they will buy a fight stick.
Right.
And they'll do that. So that means for a lot of people, they are in fact using the sticks. So imagine if you're trying to do a complicated input and the drift sort of just goes up or down or in any other direction and completely messes up the input, which could very well end up costing you the match.
Yeah. You don't even have to touch the stick for the drifting to happen, though.
That too.
Yeah, like it could still just happen on its own. I mean, it happens to me all of the time. So this is a pretty serious issue that they still haven't fixed, in spite of all of those lawsuits or class action lawsuits, which, some people have different opinions about their effectiveness. But yeah, like the Joy-Con issue with the drift still has not been fixed. If you play with like a Bluetooth controller, like the Pro controller or anything like that, you won't experience any drift unless you're like blocking the signal with your knee or something, like if you're in bed. But otherwise, like playing with a different controller that's not a Joy-Con will help you immensely.
The problem is
you shouldn't have to.
Exactly. And I feel like the fact that Nintendo has gotten away with this Joy-Con drifting issue for this long, even though people are complaining constantly, obviously, and they're being sued, but the fact that Nintendo has like done nothing about it, it is very much a thing exclusive to Nintendo. And let's be real here. The fans are kind of allowing it to happen because they still buy the products. They still buy the Switch. They still buy the games. Like, that's one of the things about Nintendo fans. They'll complain about something, and then they'll buy it anyway. let's be completely honest. I know I'm going on a bit of a tirade here, but let's be completely honest here.
No, it's true.
If the DualSense was having major malfunction issues like drifting or something flat out not working, Sony would not be able to get away with that. They would immediately have to put out a fix.
Sure.
If Microsoft had a problem with their Xbox controllers, they would definitely need to fix something.
Yeah.
Like, I just realized with Sony, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of leeway because at least with the DualSense, PS5s are just all over the place, out of stock. There's scalper issues and all that.
Yeah.
But then maybe we'll use DualShock 4 as an example instead because that didn't really run into scalper issues. They would not be able to get away with that. Nintendo is able to get away with that because as angry as people get at Nintendo for various decisions, they still buy into them. People are getting angry about the Switch OLED model not having any performance upgrades. How much you want to bet that all of those people who are complaining about it, they're still going to buy it when it comes out?
Most likely, yeah. Like they're going to lighten up over time and then say, well, you know what? I kind of want that OLED screen now.
And then they'll find a way to defend Nintendo over it, being like, guys, you shouldn't have expected that much. Guys, you did it to yourselves. You hyped yourselves up. You complain about the problem, and then you contribute directly into the problem. And for the record, I'm not above this. I'm including myself. I was complaining about the limited availability of 3D All-Stars. What do I have in my Switch case right now?
3D
All-Stars. Which, by the way, for people who somehow still did not get 3D All-Stars, it is currently on sale for $45 at Best Buy.
Really?
They still have stock.
Oh, wow. Okay. I better get on that then. I already have it, but a physical copy would be nice still.
Just make sure that it's actually on sale and that you tell them, hey, it's on sale on the website, so you better price match me.
Okay, so what I ended up doing with that, I think I told you, but
the viewers do not know.
Okay, the viewers don't know, so I guess I'll just talk about it. So, last episode of the podcast, a certain co-host of mine, one of the many, told me or notified me that that Catherine Full Body was on sale at GameStop for virtually half off, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? I guess that it might be worth getting it for me now." So I go to GameStop because online on GameStop's website it was half off. So I go to my physical GameStop and I go, one physical copy of Catherine Full Body, please. And the guy goes, full body, and I said yes. So then,
as if there's any other version on the Switch.
On the Switch, no.
There's no Catherine Classic
or half body. So he brings it over, and I go, how much is it? And he goes, it's $49.99 plus taxes, so that is going to be $54.30 something, I think. And I was like, okay.
Nope, that was your first problem.
Yeah, I was very complacent there.
You should just be like, the website says 26.
Yeah. I called GameStop after you called me a fool. I was like, all right, fine, I'll give it another try. So like, I called GameStop, and they said, yeah, we don't price match with the website. So I was like, okay. So the day after I bought it, I went back to GameStop, I returned it, and then I bought it on GameStop's website instead for like $26, which is how it was.
So let me get this straight. GameStop does not price match. I know GameStop doesn't like to price match with like other websites like Walmart or Amazon or Best Buy.
They don't price match with their own store.
But they don't price match with their own website.
No.
They seriously don't.
That's so weird, right?
And this is why GameStop is in the toilet, which, by the way, they're losing money. That is the stock scoop.
That's my favorite one so far, actually, I gotta say.
They're like 180 at this point, so they're losing money.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's why they don't. GameStop's always had. I always like disagreed with GameStop's policy of not price matching with other stores because every other store does that.
Yeah, like Best Buy does it.
Exactly. I go to Best Buy all the time. Or Best Buy and Target. I go to them all the time being like, hey, this place has it for this price. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, no problem. And GameStop is the only one that'll tell you to go themselves.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, I guess you should have bought it online then. Well, GameStop, here's a pre-owned game for you.
Or it's just like, oh, it's cheaper at Best Buy? Then go to Best Buy. It's like,
yeah,
they're actively telling you that they don't want your business.
They really should just price match, at least with their own
website.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense that they would.
It's really dumb, especially because now you bought it online. And I guess I'm guaranteeing you had to pay like $4 or $5 for shipping now too, didn't you?
I did, because you only get free shipping if you spend $35.
And so therefore, a $26 game became a $31 game, or probably even more than that with tax included.
Yeah, because I think shipping was like $5. It was still cheaper than going to the store and buying it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But honestly, I would just have like a weird sort of principle of just like, I'm going to other GameStops and I'm going to keep going to other GameStops until I find one that's actually acknowledging the price. Like, it'd be like $50. All right, next one. $50. All right, next. And just keep looking at other physical GameStops until there's one that actually has that 26.
Yeah.
I would do that.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to pay shipping costs.
I get that completely, because it almost feels like just throwing away money. Even though, like, yes, it is going towards something, but you're just paying for it to be brought to you.
You're paying a fee to get it shipped to you in several days when you can just go into a store and get it instantaneously.
Yes.
That bothers me. If I don't have to ship something, I will prefer not to. I will go to a physical location, even if it's like 2 hours away. I will go to a physical location and pick it up just so I can have it that day.
Oh, I know exactly what you're referring to. And yes, I do like that idea as well.
What am I referring to?
Going to the mall.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking of just that place.
The special mall.
I wasn't even just thinking of that place. I was also thinking of like other areas, even Jersey if I have to.
Oh, I guess. Yeah.
The point is,
yeah, like if you're traveling by train. Yeah,
I would say the point is, I am willing to travel. Mm-hmm. I will travel for savings. That's it.
Yeah, I would do it too. Personally. Now, when it comes to the Switch, I like
the non-savings.
Yeah, the non-savings.
$350.
$350. You aren't actually spending more. I mean, I'm grateful that it's not $400 like I originally thought it was, but I thought it would. I honestly did think that the $400 would still be justified if it did have a performance upgrade.
Yes.
But since it doesn't, $350 is really the most that they can charge for that.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because like the Switch OLED probably should just naturally replace the original Switch. Not be offered as a side piece.
A lot of people were saying that, and yes. Yeah, like I can agree with that. Since it's not a performance upgrade, yes. Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense to have 3 tiers. It should have just been the 2 tiers. And we all thought that it was going to end up being that way because, again, supposedly NVIDIA had discontinued the Tegra X1 chip and they were going to instead work on a different one. So it's like, oh, okay, well, that means that they can't make the older Switch. So they're probably going to have to stick with the new Switch Pro, right? But no, like it was just the Switch OLED. I understand why a lot of people are upset. The Switch OLED has almost every upgrade I would have wanted out of it, minus obviously the performance upgrades, which is what everybody mostly wanted.
It's the most important one.
It is, yeah. The dock has been upgraded. The kickstand has been upgraded. The Joy-Cons have not. The screen has been upgraded. The speakers have been upgraded. The storage has been upgraded. Now, another thing that the Switch needs, in my opinion, because like I am grateful that it uses something non-proprietary for storage, for like expansions, I should say, which in this case would be micro SD cards. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been really nice if either somehow, prices of, let's say, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte SD cards, because like the Switch does support up to 2 terabytes.
Does it?
It does. But you wouldn't know that because those SD cards are so ridiculously expensive. They're like, I think that a 2 terabyte micro SD card is $400.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's a lot of space to be putting into something as small like as a micro SD. Mm-hmm. I feel like as the years go by, that price will dramatically drop.
Yeah, eventually it will. But right now, we're kind of need it a lot.
Do you really need 2 terabytes?
Maybe not 2 terabyte, but 1 terabyte would be great. Like that could last you through the entire life cycle, I think, of the Switch.
Sure, I don't know. I'm getting by on 128 gigabytes. delete things that I'm not playing anymore. That's it. I can re-download it later if I want to play it again.
It is a workaround, but a lot of people don't really want to do that. A lot of people want to have all of their games in one place.
They like seeing the collection of all the money they spent.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I like seeing my Final Fantasy games right next to each other. Though you already know that about me.
Of course, that's another thing too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no like any changes to the UI. There's no folders.
No, nothing.
There's still no. That's the weird one. There's still no folders on the Switch UI.
There isn't a web browser. There aren't folders.
I don't.
There aren't any themes to be online and dark.
Oh yeah, there's still no themes.
Yeah, 4 years later, there's still a lot of things missing from the Switch UI.
Well, okay, so that's what I also want to talk about today. So we are now more than 4 years into the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
They've announced the Switch OLED. We've seen no changes to the thing. We've seen no themes, no changes to the UI, no folders, no features like that. No Netflix. If I recall correctly, Netflix is not on the Switch.
Yeah, it isn't.
Can we just safely say at this point that these things are never coming? Because we are now over 4 years into the Switch.
I'm convinced
like
they're not at this point.
I feel that's what I'm saying. With the Switch OLED being announced, dreams of the Switch Pro are officially dead. There's no way they're gonna do another model after this. What comes next simply is just going to be the successor to the Switch.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, like Switch 2, for instance.
Like a Switch 2.
Yeah.
Nintendo trigger or lever to use other activation thing names.
Nintendo button.
You know, it's like there's going to like, and I feel like that actual like successor, I feel like that's still, let's say about 2 years away, 2 or 3 years away.
I would consider this like the mid-generation upgrade.
I don't think we're in the middle of the generation, personally.
4 years?
I feel, yeah, I feel like
I would say we are.
You think the Switch is going to last 8 years?
I think so. Like
I'm not convinced.
At most.
I am not convinced.
I mean, do you think it's going to last less time?
Yeah, I think we're 2 years away from hearing substantial things about the successor.
2 years? Sure.
2 years.
Sure.
How about
I think
this?
2 years is fairly reasonable.
I wouldn't be, you know what it is? If it wasn't for the fact that they straight up said 2022 for it, I would not have been surprised if Breath of the Wild 2 ended up being the swan song to end the Switch.
Wow.
But because it's already been announced for next year, I don't think so anymore.
No, yeah.
But it would have been like kind of poetic that you start the Switch with Breath of the Wild and you end it with its sequel.
I mean, maybe you have a point there because between the Nintendo Wii U and the Switch, I think that it was just 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, I don't want to use the Wii U because the Wii U was a failure, so it kind of was a matter of scrambling to make something different. We could use the Wii to the Wii U, which was about 6 or 7 years.
6 or 7 years. When did the Wii come out? I thought it was like 2004-ish.
Kidding me? It's like 2006.
2006, okay. I get confused sometimes with that particular launch of consoles or generation.
2004 was the DS, I believe.
Ah, okay. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Okay, so if the Wii came out in 2006, yeah, then there would be 6 years of
Wii U
difference.
was 2012, yeah.
Yeah. And then from 2012 to the Switch, but
2017.
yeah.
So that's
again,
5 years.
Yeah.
So
That's 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's actually gone down.
5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, you can actually even argue that Breath of the Wild 2 may actually be the swan song because by the time it comes out, which they say 2022, I totally think it's going to be holiday 2022.
Holiday season.
Like it's going to be
likely,
the
yeah.
end of the year.
Yeah.
I can totally see it being the swan song, and then 2023 is when we start seeing successor news.
I do think that summer, for example, would be too soon for that game. So yeah, like holiday season 2022, I think.
They could be aiming for like a March, the same way Breath of the Wild 1 was, but like I don't see that.
But can they possibly
No.
release? Hang on. But can they possibly release a new generation Switch without first releasing Metroid Prime 4? Think about that. Yeah, we've been promised this game since 4 years ago.
I think we see Metroid Prime 4 before the Switch is over.
Okay.
Same thing with Bayonetta 3.
Yeah, that's another thing.
'Cause
Like Metroid Prime 4, I don't care about, but Bayonetta 3, I do.
I care about both games, but Bayonetta 3 is a particularly damning instance because Bayonetta 3 was announced at the end of 2017. So it was the Switch's first year that the game was announced.
Yeah.
And
nothing has been said since,
we
right?
could be approaching the very end of it before it even comes out. It's like,
yeah.
oh dear.
It like barely runs on the Switch now because the CPU is all like run down.
We could also, of course, see dual launches. You know, maybe Metroid Prime 4 comes out for the Switch and the successor. I don't know, but you know what it is? I'm just trying to think of like what could be the swan song for the Switch in the same way that, you know, every console has its little like, here's the end. This is the big game to end it. Sony, for the last 2 generations now, have more or less ended their systems with The Last of Us. If you really think about it.
Huh. Yeah, that's a pretty good point, actually.
Like, the PS3, its big swan song, exclusive at least, was The Last of Us. But then the swan song for the entire generation was GTA 5 a couple months later. And then for PS4, it's The Last of Us 2. I know you have a lot of people that are going to be like, Ghost of Tsushima. But...
I mean, Ghost of Tsushima is like a brand new IP though, so
no, I mean you could still end a generation with that, but
yeah.
I'm thinking more.
But we're talking about like a franchise.
I'm not even looking at franchise. I'm thinking more just in the sense of like, at least going off of critics. I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh, critics are bought out," but going off of critics, it's The Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2 had more acclaim than Ghost of Tsushima did.
I see.
You could, if you want, you could lump them in as 2. They both ended it because they were like a month apart, but. I don't know. It's like I said, the same way Sony ended it both times with, you know, Last of Us. You know, maybe Nintendo decides to end both of their most recent consoles with Zelda. It's
so just to clarify, Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima. These were 2019 games, right?
2020.
2020 games. Really?
Last year.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely like drunk off of time. Clearly,
I know you may have forgotten because for you that game of the year last year was just Final Fantasy VII Remake and nothing else.
Oh yeah, the remake did come out in 2020. I actually,
my goodness.
Yeah, dude, I'm out of it. I woke up early today.
This uncertain time loop has really messed with everybody.
It has. But man, well, I'm excited for SMT. 5 later in the year, so there's that.
But just the Switch, I almost said Switch Pro. It's not a Switch Pro, but
yeah,
Switch OLED. Guys, you played yourselves. You guys was way too hyped about a Switch Pro. My favorite one was when Nintendo said that there was not going to be any hardware announcements during their direct, and everyone was saying, so they're going to announce the Switch Pro before E3 starts, then, huh? Like a week before
those
the direct.
Lying liars.
It's like, no, those are people getting themselves too hyped for something. As always, Nintendo fans always do this. Nintendo specifically states, we're not doing this. And people are like, oh, so they're totally doing it, right? So even Sony has to do this now. Sony announced a state of play for Deathloop in the next couple of weeks or so. And they said straight up, there's not going to be any other major games like Horizon or whatever. And people are like, so there's going to be God of War, right? But anyway, thanks for listening or watching, guys. If you are watching on YouTube, all that information is going to be at the bottom of the video.
Yes, and if you're listening, just go ahead and check out the description of whatever platform you're currently using right now.
And remember, if you are on the Patreon, you are entered to win the possible giveaway of these Raycon.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
But yes, I bought these myself, so please enjoy to the winner, the future winner. With that said, this has been Francisco.
And Chris.
Until next time, enjoy.
Good night. Travel well.